They're saying that Trump is making this outrageous attempt to be above the law and, ask for immunity that isn't his to take. And the response to that is, what he's asking for is that the Constitution that guides the rule of law here in the United States be enforced. And you're not asking to be put above the law when you're asking that the Constitution that allows you to do X, Y, or Z be enforced. We've got some updates about the efforts to destroy Donald Trump, which is kind of all part of a piece here. We're talking about even the efforts to destroy Ashley Babbitt, who, of course, was a Trump supporter. The Supreme Court, in a massive blow to Jack Smith and the Biden regime and all their leftist cadres out there, decided to take up President Trump's challenge to the notion that he can be prosecuted for acts he committed officially as President of the United States. And the Supreme Court took it up just the other day, and I had this initial reaction to it.
Hey everyone, Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton here with some breaking news. President Trump got a big victory just now at the Supreme Court. A big loss for the Biden regime, Jack Smith, and the rabid anti-Trump courts. The Supreme Court agreed to take up President Trump's challenge to the effort by the Biden gang to jail him for his official acts as President of the United States related to the 2020 election. The Supreme Court has stayed the proceedings, which means the case against him below can't proceed before the anti-Trump Judge Chutkan till at least the middle of the year, if at all, depending on how the Supreme Court rules. So big victory for the rule of law, constitutional government, and our republic today.
And the left is furious because their efforts to bum rush President Trump into a criminal trial where they plan to convict him, because it's a D.C. jury, they're all Democrats here, has been waylaid by the Supreme Court. So they're going to hear his case in April, so they are moving a bit more quickly than they otherwise would. In theory, they could have waited till next term, but they're still deferring to the government, in my view, too much, the Biden administration. And so if they uphold Trump's challenge, the case essentially dies. And even if they don't, the case will be delayed in a way that it makes it very difficult, unless they really want to abuse the rule of law and just completely try to rig the election with no embarrassment. It would delay the trial till after the election, which the left is desperate to avoid, because they think if Trump wins, he'll pardon himself or shut down the prosecution, as is his right as president. So we'll see what happens. But the Supreme Court was right to take up the case. What you're going to be seeing in the next 2 months as they prepare to hear this Trump challenge fully is, again, another effort by the crazed left to intimidate the courts. Now, you remember during the debate about whether to allow states to protect human life over the Roe versus Wade decision, how the left was intimidating the courts then, showing up illegally outside the homes of justices to try to intimidate them. And that never stopped, by the way. It never stopped. But now you see Pelosi out there attacking the court, and all the leftists out there attacking the court. And by the way, this decision to take up the case had no noted dissents. And it would seem to me, if there was a strong opposition to it, one of the left-wing judges, or maybe, who knows, maybe one of the conservative judges would have taken, made their public dissent known, but they didn't. So it's pretty clear the entire court doesn't trust the corrupt or politicized D.C. courts here in Washington, D.C., who are so there are some good judges, but for most of them have been kind of brainwashed the Republicans and the Republican appointees and the Democrats are anti-Trump as it is. So they're just crazily anti-Trump. And to the degree there are any sensible judges, they're in the absolute minority here in the D.C. federal courts. So it's a big blow also to the lower courts in that regard, too, who have kind of blessed virtually every anti-Trump move the Biden administration has wanted to make and blown up Trump's civil rights in the process. And of course, the left doesn't want you to be able to vote for Trump. I've said it once, and I'm going to make it dramatically in the speech you'll later hear. The left wants to turn this country into a one-party state. And what better way to do that than to knock the number one opponent off the ballot? Now, Trump made some news this weekend at CPAC by suggesting he was a political dissident. I think that's a fair way of characterizing it. Heck, I think I'm a dissident. I've been abused by the government based on my perceived political beliefs and for doing things that we're allowed to do here at Judicial Watch under the First Amendment. Yeah, you can have dissidents in a country where the party in power, and I don't mean party literally partisan-wise, I mean party in terms of attitude, thinks that they can harass and jail and do worse to their political opponents. So kudos to the Supreme Court for stepping up and hopefully enforcing the rule of law and protecting our constitutional system. And so they're going to be deciding whether or not the president has immunity for his official acts. Now, they've previously found that he has immunity from civil cases for acts he did in his official capacity or a president does in their official capacity. And so the question is, does that same logic or similar logic apply to immunity from criminal liability? And I think there's a strong argument that he does. I mean, there's only one president at a time. And as Justice John Marshall, one of the most important justices in the history of the country, if not Western jurisprudence, found, under our constitutional system, the courts can't review presidential acts. So what Joe Biden is asking the Supreme Court to do is to overturn Marbury versus Madison. Now, those of you who are lawyers who have followed the history of constitutional law in the United States, you will know that that's the most important, arguably the most important Supreme Court decision in American history, because it established the approach that the courts take in terms of judicial review and their right to do so. So, who's the extremist? They're saying that Trump is making this outrageous attempt to be above the law and, ask for immunity that isn't his to take. And the response to that is, what he's asking for is that the Constitution that guides the rule of law here in the United States be enforced. And you're not asking to be put above the law when you're asking that the Constitution that allows you to do X, Y, or Z be enforced. He's asking that the rule of law be upheld. So that's at issue here. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like our video down below.